Hi, welcome to the Balanced Body Pilates podcast series. I'm Amy Alpers from the Pilates Center in Boulder, Colorado. We're talking about breath, and we're looking at exercises in this podcast, one that uses spring and one that doesn't use spring. And then we're going to go into separating that out and having several exercises in each podcast that really look at the different ways that spring influences your breath mechanism, and then how that translates into eventually working without a spring and the differences that makes. So in this first session, we're going to work on the roll-up exercise. So an exercise without spring to see how the breath works. And then we will look at the short spine exercise on the reformer and talk about how the spring affects that. Okay, so I'm going to have you lie down on your back with your feet at this end. If you have a strap, it's nice to use. It's helpful. Come down just a little bit more. There you go. Lie down. Also, if you have a heavy bar, it's helpful. It enables the breath mechanism a little more powerfully. So we can start with the bar here. Ultimately, you might take the bar all the way. That requires that you have quite a lot of range and strength in your shoulder girdle. So let's start here. And let's have the wrists a little softer. Good. Elbows a little softer. Okay, so that you can, if you lock your joints too much, it's very hard to breathe. Okay, so we want to have soft joints, just long. All right, so we curl up and you feel your inhale lift you, and then you exhale again all the air out. And we'll be looking later on at the push through, on the push through series, and how it's very similar in that same way. So you inhale and then you exhale. So if you can, almost like a wave lifting. You inhale, you let that breath lift you up, and then you exhale, you let the exercise squeeze the air out of you. And then you inhale, let that breath lift you, and exhale, squeeze the air out of you. So when you come to these long positions, you get a chance to really work your exhale. So you inhale, you try to feel the air, and then you try to get a good squeeze because the exercise is doing that with you. You inhale, soften so that you can fill, and exhale. And we're going to do one last one. So the exercise is really enabling the breath. You're trying to get out of the way and allow that to happen. And you're allowing the exercise to encourage a little more power into your breath mechanism. Now, a lot of times people will use, and that's enough for a second, a lot of times people will use, if they have a particular spot in the body that's a little bit tight and you can't really make that whole wave action happen with your inhale, you can use the breath a little bit as a tool to enable softening a particular vertebra and creating a little more range in a spot that's a little bit tight. But ultimately, we like to really make sure we return back to the idea that you're not using the breath so much as a tool to enable you to do the exercise, but more that you're using the exercise as a tool to enable you to breathe. Okay, so that sometimes we really can go down the wrong path there for a little bit too long. It's a useful moment in time where you do use an exhale to enable something to occur more effectively to smooth the exercise out. But ultimately, we'd really like to switch back to that idea of the exercise enabling the breath so that we're always riding the wave of the breath and constantly working on the expansion and contraction of that. Okay, so next we're going to go over to the reformer and look at short spine. So here we are at the reformer, and we're going to demonstrate short spine. And again, our intention is just to stay very, very clear on the breath specifically. We're not necessarily looking at the rest of the technique. You may do even a slightly different version of short spine, which is fine. We're looking at how the exercises are specifically designed to enable your breath capacity to get bigger and your breath pump mechanism to get stronger. Okay, so we start with an inhale. The body expands. That's your inhale. Deep squeeze, exhale. We lift up and over, trying to empty the lungs. We inhale, fill the lungs again, softening a little bit so the lungs can really expand. And then we exhale, and all the rolling exercises, and we're going to look at that a little more deeply, are very much designed to cleanse the lungs. Okay, so we go again. Inhale, exhale, up and over. right? Then we inhale again, softening a little bit so the back can really expand, the spine can lengthen. We deep exhale, so we're really trying to squeeze, squeeze, squeeze the lungs clean all the way to the end. Good. And what I really like is that we start in a much more relaxed position than is often taught. So relax even a little more than this. Let the knees come slightly apart. So the knees are up towards the shoulders, not too narrow, not too wide. And there's a sense of really being able to have this soft, expansive quality here so the breath can come and go. If you hold too tightly, the breath won't be able to do its work, right? This first movement out also, sometimes people take it a little too high, and if you take it too high, so go ahead and stretch the legs out, it doesn't really affect the lungs quite as well. So bend the knees, exhale. So if we can, we want to take it pretty long and low. So you get a big stretch, huge opening right here. Come out of the tuck just a little bit more before you go. And then we want to get this powerful exhale squeeze right here to do the lift with. So you exhale, you lift that squeeze up and over. Then you inhale again, softening excess tension because otherwise the body can't actually absorb the oxygen. And then exhale, deep squeeze. So again, we're articulating the spine, but more importantly, we're really, 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 really exhaling, exhaling, exhaling the air. And when you come back to here again, you soften a little bit more. The more tension we have in the body, the less the air can come, the less the air can go. So if you're already holding tension someplace, you aren't going to really be able to squeeze as well as you should. And you really want it to feel extremely natural, extremely natural. So that's the short spine, and we're going to be looking at a few more exercises that work with spring in the next few podcasts. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you then.